Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast is intended to help us learn, live, and thrive in our own personal context. By sharing knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge while learning ourselves how to progress even further. I'm your host, Dawn Jones, and you can participate in this conversation with me by sending a voicemail through DawnJonesSpeaks.com and commenting on the episode after the show. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Let's have a conversation. We know that language and communication is very important. And we communicate and express ourselves in many ways. There are verbal expressions, body language expressions, and people express themselves through the arts and many other ways, including private and public expressions of who they are. Sometimes our expressions are interpreted correctly and sometimes they are not. And that could be in part because we have not considered how we communicate best. How do you like to be understood? How do you like to be treated? Today, I want to talk about communication in a different light. I want to talk about love languages. Do you know your love language? Often, our first role models for communication and love language is our parents and or caregivers. We develop attachments as babies, and depending on how we are nurtured, loved, and felt love as a child will sometimes dictate what we need in our relationships to feel that love. For example, some people don't like to hug because they might associate hugs with a traumatizing experience as a child. Others might feel love through hugs because that's how their family expresses love in the family dynamics. Whatever the case may be, everyone needs to feel loved, and it's vital to know how you enjoy being loved and how to properly show love to others. And if we've not been shown that in our formative years or don't know how to do that in our formative years, then some of those ways and habits of how we do love or not love carry over into our adult setting. Dr. Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages. And in his theory on love languages, individuals can become better equipped to tell people how they like to be loved. By that same token, the spouse or loved one can properly show love to others in a way that is fulfilling to their partner or loved one. Now, it goes without saying that most people need what Maslow would call the hierarchy of needs. At the very base of this theory, everyone needs food, water, warmth, and rest. That's the very basic. Then there are safety needs, which amount to feeling safe and secure. We all need that. This third tier is where we want to spend our time today, and that is in our need to belong and feel loved. This tier includes our intimate relationships and friends. From the standpoint of familial love, we would assume that because we belong to this or that family, that everyone in the family would feel loved. From the standpoint of a marriage, we might assume that because two people got married, that they love each other. However, we cannot always assume that because we know through countless examples that people can be in families and in marriages and not feel loved. So then it begs the question, what does it take for some to feel love physiologically? How do they know that they are loved in a way that they experience the feeling of love expressed in their inner being? If being in a family doesn't mean it, or being married doesn't mean it, what does? Let's explore the love languages.
Do you have a message that the rest of the world should hear? Become a podcaster. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your smartphone or computer. Anchor's creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast before publication, and they will even distribute your podcast for you. Get your message heard on popular media outlets such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can even make money, and there's no minimum listenership to qualify. Get started today by downloading the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
The first and perhaps the easiest form of love expression is verbal. People say I love you on a regular basis. Sometimes I feel like that expression is overly used, especially when people cannot prove it by their actions. However, there are some people who have never heard the words I love you come out of a parent or a loved one's mouth. A person whose love language is verbal needs to hear I love you. They need your appreciation expressed verbally on a regular basis. All too often, a spouse or a loved one assumes that people around them know that they love them just because they live together or spend time together. Verbal lovers need to hear it. Quality time is the love language that some people understand and feel the most loved. This means that you and your loved one spend time with a singular focus, and that is each other. This requires being present, intentional, and tuned in. And this could mean carving out time each day or each week that is completely dedicated to quality time with your loved one. This is a time of one-on-one connection. Now, some people feel love through giving or receiving gifts. And these type of lovers are visual people. They like to see proof of the relationship. For these types of lovers, homemade or handmade gifts are fine in some instances. Of course, now, spending money on them is acceptable too. You could also leave a card or a handwritten note to show this expression of love. This type of lover enjoys gifts that are meaningful. Other people feel loved when you take the time to do the chores that you wouldn't normally do. Now, as a single mom of 4, I know I appreciated this type of love being shown to me from my kids. They could tell me they loved me all day long, but there was something about helping out around the house that made me feel extra loved and special, not to mention relieved of some of my burden. Now, if you're married, consider the idea that doing some extra chores might give your relationship that extra oomph, especially if your partner works a lot and feels overwhelmed. Find out which chore your partner least likes to do and do it for them. Think of something that your partner would greatly appreciate. Now, some people require physical affection. And this isn't always sexual. This could mean holding hands, shoulder rubs, or cuddles. Find out how your partner likes to be touched if your partner feels love through a physical touch. Also, it's good to know how you communicate love, how you like to feel love as well, so that you can express that to your partner or your loved ones. And keep in mind, with all of these 5 love languages, you can combine them, you can mix them up, you can do more than one at any given time and express love to your loved one. Did you enjoy what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to DawnJonesSpeaks.com and leave us a 5-star review and some feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. In addition, You will find additional resources to help you on your journey. And don't forget to subscribe and share this with your friends. Thank you.